This is such an exciting episode today. Please stick with me as we explore the journey of Eric Schultz. Eric, from professional baseball player to corporate America, and then finding himself at a crossroads. He built a handyman business, which launched a super successful real estate career. Now he uses the combination of both as a true differentiator in the market. Stick around to hear this inspiring story.
Welcome to Unlocking Real Estate, My First Commission, where we dive into real stories, big wins, and early lessons learned from highly successful rookie real estate agents and brokers. This is the series where we explore how real estate transforms lives, one home at a time, by sitting down each week with a new agent or broker who has found incredible success in their first year. Your hosts are instructors and leaders at Colibri Real Estate School, one of the largest real estate educators in the nation, where we focus on helping people like you get started or find continued success in their careers.
Hello, and welcome to Unlocking Real Estate, My First Commission. I'm Tina Lapp, Head of Industry Relations and Career Excellence at Colibri Real Estate. I've been in real estate education for over 30 years, helping individuals enter and thrive in their real estate careers. We are here today with Eric Schultz. Eric, will you take a moment to introduce yourself, where you live, and what company you're with?
Yeah, I'm Eric Schultz. I am with Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices. That's in here in Charlotte, North Carolina, in Ballantyne, actually. And I've been in the real estate business 5 years.
Okay, that's wonderful. So, Eric, what were you doing before you got into real estate?
Yeah, that's a really fun and interesting dialogue, I think. Great question there. Like many people, maybe they don't necessarily start in real estate. I spent 20 years in corporate America, kind of working my way up the ladder there in a sales role primarily. And I got to the point where I was vice president of sales for a really large company out of Chicago, doing everything right, playing by the book, and closing some really big deals until one day I found out that my services just weren't needed anymore. And without really understanding what that meant, I was out of a job. And in sales, you don't typically get a severance. It's just see you later. And that was it. So I had to try to figure out what to do next.
Wow. And like so many people, right? You're not alone. And somehow from that, and blessing in disguise, I think, how you wound up in real estate. How did that transition happen? What inspired you to start a real estate career?
Yeah, my family has kind of been in real estate. So my mom and dad at an early age, invested in properties, bought rental properties, had rental properties, managed those properties. My dad was a general contractor, so he was building homes, and he'd find these old houses and he'd fix them up and then rent them, and so he had, 3 or 4 homes at one point in time. And I just remember as a kid going with him and making repairs and doing little things, odds and ends around those. And I always thought that was interesting for them to kind of take that path of, finding some income outside of his normal day-to-day job. And then kind of fast forward, my brother, he got into commercial real estate, and my sister was doing real estate. And so when the thing happened, it was like, I wonder if that could be a path for me, And so one day I was literally just praying about it, because I just, as the breadwinner of my family, my wife at the time was not working. And I was sitting there going, what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to provide for my family, these 3 kids, my wife, right? And it just kind of came to me. It's like, God was like, you have other, abilities and gifts that you're not even using. I gave you some unbelievable gifts that you're not even touching yet. And I was just like, I wonder what that could be, Yeah. And it just like hit me like a ton of bricks. It was like, you have like this ability with like your hands, right? You know how to like fix things and make things. You grew up building houses with your dads. Like take that and go make some money, And I was just like, all right. So I got online. I got my Charlotte handyman, and I printed off some Vistaprint business cards and some flyers, and I just started walking around my neighborhood with them. And I thought, well, if I could start making some money this way, that might at least get me started down this path. But at the same time, I was like, well, real estate could be a really good fit too. So I signed up to start taking my real estate classes then as well.
Wow. And so very entrepreneurial of you. So you're jumping in, you're doing handyman work, you start your own business, and you decide, I'm going to connect real estate to it.
Yeah.
How did that happen? And was there a specific person or an event? Did you know someone in real estate sales? How'd you make that connection?
Yeah, so my brother-in-law, he was in this kind of wholesale business, and where you see those signs, right? We buy old,
Sure.
ugly houses and all that kind of stuff. Well, people, they sell their houses that way, obviously. And so I started kind of talking to him about it, and he's like, hey, there's a group in Charlotte there, and that's what they do. You might want to reach out to them and see if you would, be interested in working with them. They have a kind of like this position where you go and you talk to the homeowners about selling their house. It's very much a sales job, right? You've got to quickly build rapport with people. You've got to quickly help them understand the value of their home, and then get to a number with them, and then sign on the dotted line before you leave. It's a 2-hour maybe turnaround. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you've got to. I kind of took that sales past of mine, and I applied it to that role after I interviewed with them. But they also had a real estate side of their business, and that kind of interested me. And I was like, as I was taking my classwork, I was working for them to find these wholesale deals. At the same time, I was doing my handyman work in between all of that. So it was like 3 different things, right? I was going to classes, and then I was, certain days a week, I was doing handyman work certain times of the day, and then other times of the day I was running off to go talk to some seller of a house. It's kind of what you do if you've got to figure this out all over again, right? I'm just not the type of person that sits and waits for something to come to me. I go get it. And so that right there was just like a lot of like turning pieces. And then when that kind of wholesale thing, and after I got my license, I moved over to the real estate side of their business, because I just felt that was more of where I wanted my life, my kind of trajectory to go. And so they already had this real estate side. So I just joined that team with them, and, got some of my first transactions that way.
Yeah. And I'm so excited to jump into the story, because you have a really great business model and a story. Let's go back to getting your real estate license. But just real quick, I want to hit on that.
Yeah.
So you were juggling an awful lot of things.
Yeah.
And so how did you take your classes? Did you do them online or in the classroom?
Well, this was before COVID, so we were in the classroom, and I really enjoyed that part of it. It was Superior there in Ballantyne, and
Cool.
it was during the day, and jumped in, just on a recommendation from my neighbor who was a real estate agent. She's like, you got to go to Superior and take your classes there, and I was like, all right, great. So I jumped right into that. Yeah.
Do you remember how long it took you to get through the classes?
Yeah, it was a couple months, I want to say,
Okay.
of classes. I think it was like twice a week. Maybe it was like a Thursday, Friday, or maybe it was even a Saturday, Sunday I was going. I couldn't remember. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was like about 4 hours a day, right? And you go through the work, and then during the nights is when I would do my study. And so after I got home and got everybody settled and food and kids in bed and everybody settled, I would go and just study until 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. That was my time to get it done, on top of everything else that I have, the invoicing and other jobs and quoting and stuff. So
Wow.
you find the time, right? If you're hungry enough, you find the time to make it happen.
That's great. So you were juggling an awful lot of things,
Yeah.
and you're still running your other business. You're moving over from the wholesaling to more traditional real estate sales.
Right.
What did you expect going into your first year? And I know it took you a little bit of time to get your footing. So
Yeah.
going in your first year, what'd you expect?
Well, I didn't quite know what to expect. I kind of went in with eyes wide open, and I thought, hey, if I can meet people and just have friendly relationships with people, I felt like my whole career was built on relationships, right? And like, this is a relationship business, like most sales businesses are relationship businesses. And so if I can build relationships with people quickly enough, then I would be able to kind of get this thing rolling. The other benefit of being with this group is they had a lot of wholesale deals coming in that weren't a wholesale fit. They were more of a real estate, listed fit. And so I got excited about joining that team because they were giving me leads already, like right away. Now, this was 2020 when I started real estate, and we all know what happened at the spring of 2020, right, with
Right.
COVID.
Yeah.
So I was working with an investor actually who wanted to buy 3 or 4 homes, and we were looking at homes, and we were ready to put a couple under contract, and we actually had offers out, and then basically everything shut down, right? Like done. So I'm going, wait a minute, I just spent all this time, right? Got into the real estate, I'm getting things going, and then COVID, right? Like you can't show a house, you can't meet people, you can't shake hands, you can't talk. It's like everybody's wearing masks. It was just a mess, right? Yeah. So I just was like, all right, well, I guess we figure things out, right? And like, I guess we'll just take the next step as they come. So I really dove into my handyman business then, because the real estate stuff kind of went on pause, but the handyman stuff like went through the chart, right? Like everybody's home now. Everybody in my neighborhood's calling me. Eric, I need a door on this wall. I need to build a wall. My kids are home. They're driving me nuts. I need to get this fixed. So I'm running around like, I just like trying to keep it all straight and going, all right, I can help with that, help with that, help that. That started to turn into like building those relationships then to like, Eric, I think we're going to move, or Eric, I think we're going to, want to go someplace and sell, or we might want to invest in this place over here. Interest rates are really good. So that started, developing the real estate side of my business even more, because before, when I moved down here in 2017, I wasn't in real estate, right? And it wasn't a focus of mine to build relationships with my neighbors to figure out, hey, I'm going to sell your house someday, right? So until 2020, when this whole thing happened, I didn't really have a sphere of influence. I didn't really have a sphere down here. Everybody was up north in Chicago, where I was from, right? And so it was really difficult then to look at that. And this might be what some people are thinking, is like, I don't know anybody, right? I don't know anybody. How am I going to start my business without knowing anybody? There's a lot of people that are from here though, or from wherever they're taking their courses, and they do have a sphere. Or you're young and you've got a lot of young people, and they're getting ready to buy their first home or whatever. Like, you're in a much better position than I was, And so just as a kind of encouragement, like, you should run with that, right? For me, I didn't have anybody. There wasn't anybody here. So I started from like ground zero, right? And no sphere. So it was really, for me, the handyman business that got me in the door to talk with people about their home. And then eventually those started to turn into real estate transactions.
That's great. And so I know when we talked, you said, the first year was a little spotty based on what was going on in the world. Your handyman business started thriving. You started meeting a lot of people because of that handyman business. And so fast forward to, I think it was year 3, right? Like now you're really getting into real estate.
Yeah.
Talk to me now about like, how is in year 3, when it really took off, how did you build that business? Yeah.
Well, I'll step back a second because I think it's important. I was in the real estate business during COVID, and all of that stuff was driving me kind of a little bonkers. Like, it was a lot going on. And my old boss had reached out to me, and now he's at a new company. And he said, Eric, I got this great position for you at our company. It's vice president business development. It's what we were doing before. This is the A team. This is the big leagues. Like, I need you on my team. And then he sent me over an offer letter, and I went, whoa, that's a lot of houses I got to sell to make up for that, right? And it was spotty. Like, handyman was bringing in some money, but you've got to understand, this was like $500 here, $200 there, and I'm 50 now, but I'm like 46, and I'm making $500 every 2 days. I mean, that doesn't take care of a family, right? So out of kind of necessity for, our finances, I took the role, putting my real estate kind of business on hold, putting my handyman business on hold, and jumped back into corporate America. Hindsight being 2020, I never should have done that. I was with the company for 2 years during COVID, in a sales role where nobody was buying anything. They couldn't even get goods across, from one side of the world to the other. I mean, they were just trying to figure out how to buy paper to make their product, right? Companies didn't want what I was selling. And so it was really kind of hit my head against the wall for 2 years. And when that didn't work out again, I was like, all right, full steam into real estate. I'm putting all the effort into this. So really, Tina, what I did was I just kind of really turned the focus up on real estate. And I said, all right, I need to advertise, right? I need to be at places that are going to be around other people that I can talk about real estate. I'm going to ramp up my handyman business like I never have before. I'm going to turn it on, the afterburners on this one. And so I was advertising for that. As soon as the word got out in my neighborhood that I was back doing handyman work, it was like my phone started ringing off the hook. And, people were just kind of waiting for somebody to help them because,
Yes.
As you look around, if you've ever gone through trying to hire somebody to do something at your house, there's always this like, okay, they didn't call me back, or I didn't get the estimate, or now that they said they're going to come and they're not here and they're late or whatever else it is. Like, that's just not how you run a business, right? And that's not my past. And so being responsive, being, on time, turning things around when I say I will, like those are all important pieces to the puzzle of getting and earning the business from somebody. And so, that just really paid dividends for me on building that handyman business back up. But then quickly after that, also announcing that I was, full-time into real estate again, people started to reach out to ask me about how I can help them with their real estate needs. And, that's when I just said, all right, this is where I need to be. That was a little speed bump over there. I got to, kind of take it what it was, but it just helped me really focus then on what I want to do right now. And that's building my real estate business.
That's great. So now, like, a couple of bumps in the road, figuring it all out. Now you've made the decision. You're going to grow your business. You're going to grow your real estate business.
Yeah.
And then it took off.
Yeah.
Right? It took off. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was when you finally focused on it, you sold 5 million your first year when you were focused. How'd you do it? Like, how'd you do it? You have your handyman business, you're getting some leads that way. I mean, is there more to that story?
There's more to the story, but that's where it kind of starts. It starts with the handyman business and just being in the right place at the right time sometimes. And it's happened to me more often than not that I go to somebody for the first time even, and we're talking about, making some repairs in their house. And I often just ask, I'm like, so tell me why you're making all these repairs, And sometimes it's like, well, we've been putting a lot of things off. But sometimes they say, well, we're thinking about selling the house. And I think these are some of the things we'll have to fix before we sell the house. And I was like, well, I'm a real estate agent and I'm a great listing agent. I would be happy to help you out. Are you working with an agent already? And sometimes they say yes, and sometimes it's no. And so I get the opportunity then to, basically pitch my services to them right there on the spot. And what's really kind of worked out well for me in that case is with my handy business, I offer my services for free up front. So, I will spend time with them walking the house and just putting my eyes on from like a contractor perspective of what I see, split tape in the drywall or some dents over here or missing paint there or whatever it might be. And then just putting a list together of like, here's the things that I think we should, needs attention, right? We need to make these cosmetic updates or repairs. Sometimes it'll be like, should I rip out these cabinets and put in new ones? Or do I have to update my kitchen or the bathrooms? And we all know like kitchens and bathrooms sell houses. And so a lot of the homes, they're nice, but sometimes they could use a coat of paint or they could use some updated lighting or whatever else it might be. So I'll go and walk through the house with them and we'll come up with that list. And then I start knocking out that list for them as their listing agent. So I give them the option and say, hey, look, I can do these things for you and I'll give away 6 hours of my time for free to like manage all that. And then I just set an hourly rate after that, which is really reasonable to knock out anything else that I don't get done in those 6 hours. And people really love that. They love the fact that I'm willing to give up my own time and services and energy and manage that whole process for them so that they can just kind of, not worry about it. Like Eric's got it, right? So if we need something I can't do, like maybe we need something with plumbing or electric or whatever, I have resources that I can, bring in. If it's something that I can't take care of, like switching out a light switch or an outlet or something, not a big deal. I can take care of that. But if there's something more specific we need, then I've got people, and most agents that are doing a good job have their list of people. But I'd say like 75 to 85% of the stuff I can do myself. And there's not a lot of people having to come in and out of their house, right? So they're not having to schedule things. And it's like, okay, Eric's going to be there. He's got the super key. He can get in access when we're not around. He'll take care of it. and they can go on vacation or they can go do something for the weekend and not have to worry about being around to meet some vendor there, right? So I take care of that for them and make it really easy. And then just having that, ability to do that, I think that really rings, true to some people. And then I think it's just the fact that I've spent 20 years in business development. Part of what I did in that role was negotiation. And like, who doesn't want to have a good negotiator on their side, right? So I always talk about the negotiation skills that I have and meeting with the CMO and the CEO of these companies and talking about big deals and putting the deals together for them. And it's a lot to do with that part of it too, because you can anybody can list a home, but then when that first offer, those 2-3 offers come in or whatever it might be, who's got your back on that, right? Who's going to tell you what they think about those offers versus, oh yeah, well, I think this is a good offer. It's like, why? Like, why do you think it's a good offer, right? Like, so sitting down with them and really getting in the meat of it and being like, here's what I think. Here's what I think we can do. And here's how I think I can negotiate that with the other agent and get you guys what you want. And I think from the kind of responses I get from my clients after the fact, they're just like, Eric, we knew you had our back 100% all the way through this whole transaction. Like your recommendations, the way you dealt with other agent, the way you got us to the closing table, the fact that we're getting more money or we're getting better terms or whatever else it was that we wanted, like you nailed it, right? So that just to me just says I'm doing the right thing. I'm working with clients that appreciate what I bring to the table. And it's maybe different than anybody else they've ever talked to because I don't know how many agents have that kind of a background, but like it's been working for me and it's been really successful. And so I think that's a lot to do with how I've grown my business so quickly after focusing in on it really and putting that effort forward of the whatever it might be with the advertising or going to the social things and meeting the people where they're at and talking about my business and just having fun with it too. So I don't think I'll ever kind of turn off the handyman part of it, because it's such a great piece for me. But I hope to be able to grow that business where I have some other people kind of helping to run that so that I can really, again, focus more on the real estate business. But for right now, it's really helping me grow my real estate business, and it's a great lead gen for me.
Yeah, and what a great unique niche that you have there, and something so unique to you, which is amazing. So other than the referrals, like obviously you're getting in there, you're doing the handyman, you're picking people up from that in the neighborhood. How are you doing your advertising?
Yeah. So with Berkshire Hathaway, what's really great is we have our own marketing team. And I know there are other agents, probably resources like that as well, but I really feel like our team's got a really good grasp on that. And so it can be postcards that I send out when I just list a home or just close on a home or coming soon on a home. It's the database that I have, constantly mining that. I've got just some things on autopilot that send postcards every 2 months to my list of people, right? So there's an investment in that. That can be $500, $600, $700 every 2 months that you're putting towards sending this out. But I've had several people, comment like, hey, that 4th of July one you sent out was awesome. It had a link in there for where the fireworks were. And we went to go watch one of the shows, I was like, awesome. I'm glad you got a use out of that, or I sold a house in our neighborhood recently, and it had gone for the highest we've ever gotten in our neighborhood at $1.45 million. So I put a postcard out about selling the house, and I got one lead that had me come in and pitch them for selling their home, And so I know that stuff works. It might not feel like it's working right away, but the consistency of it is what will eventually turn into business for you. And it's one of those things that I know I'm paying for. And what I love about with Berkshire Hathaway is that I don't have to pay for it right away. It just kind of tallies up. So my next sale, when they send me my check, they just pull out what I'm due to them before they send me the rest of it, right? So I know if I'm consistently selling houses, that's going to get taken care of as well. And it's a marketing expense that I can put under that house that I sold. But it's something I feel if you can be consistent with it. I can't consistently call everybody every single day, every other day or whatever it is, although that is a good way to do it as well. But that I know is just going to always go out there. And then there's also an email that goes out to my clients on certain things, or just updates I put on LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram that have, hey, these 5 things are great when you're sprucing your house up or getting ready for sale, and things like that. So just that I know that these various things are kind of happening in the background with me not having to think about it a whole lot. I can really focus then on the face-to-face opportunities I have, where I'm like meeting these people then, and just knowing that that part of my business is being taken care of. So the marketing aspect, I think, is a really big piece of it, like it is for any business. If you look at any business that's doing well, you see them marketing. They've got to spend the money on it to stay in front of people's faces. And I feel like if you stop doing that, then all of a sudden they're like, what happened to Eric? Like, he's not sending postcards anymore. Is he still in the business? You know, and it might not be like, they might not call you today, but it could be 4 years from now, you know, that they've been consistently seeing you show up in their mailbox. You know, they might just toss it, but hey, they see your name, they see that you're trying, you know, and so I think that has a big piece of it as well.
For sure. And your advertising and your social media and your emails and postcards, like, it's not always about, hey, I have this listing. It's giving them really some valuable information about the community or things going on. That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's just building that relationship with people, you know, and it might be through postcards that's the only kind of way. I mean, I've met people that I live in a great neighborhood, a lot of great people. Yeah. There's 600 homes. There's no way I meet everybody, you know, but if they see my face every once in a while, and like I pop up on the Facebook page a lot because of my handyman business. So people are like, hey, does anybody know somebody that can fix a toilet? You know, like Eric Schultz, you know? And so I'm like, that's great. Like, I love that the people like want to refer me on that kind of stuff. But I feel the other agents in the neighborhood going, man, that guy's going to go over there. He's going to talk about his real estate business and he's going to get that listing.
Yeah, well, you know, I mean, that's your intent. That's your intent,
right? You know, it is what it is. But, you know, going from not selling any houses in my neighborhood to, you know, selling 2 to 3 houses a year to hopefully getting in 4 to 5 houses a year, you know, these homes are $1 million plus now, thanks to, you know, inflation, I guess. But we've all seen real estate go up and up. I'm thankful like that I'm just even in this neighborhood, right? Because these houses that I get to sell are big homes, and there's a lot of pieces to that, right? And they're sophisticated sellers and they're sophisticated buyers coming in, you know, and so you really have to be buttoned up and having those conversations with people about their home and know that they, you know, there's certain things that they'll spend money on and they won't. And so just having those conversations, that dialogue where they can get to the fact of like trusting you to help them make good decisions on where they're going to spend that money, because there's never a house I've walked into that is like ready to go today, right? There's always something we have to do. I have to bring my stager in. We have to talk about what we're going to do to get this top dollar. You know, what are we going to do about these paint colors and this and that? Can we use them? Shouldn't we use them? So I use even like that as part of my marketing, is bringing a stager in who knows this homes in this neighborhood really well, and then just use her to be the voice that says, this is what you should do to your home, versus me saying it. You know, I'm just bringing in the expert, right? Like, I know how to list your house and sell it, but like she knows how to stage it. So let's bring her in. I pay for her time to come in and do that. And it's just a great like way to have that conversation and dialogue with the seller and make them just feel even more comfortable. It's not me telling them what they need to do. It's her telling them what to do. And then together we talk about what we will do together and how we're going to get it ready to sell. And sometimes that's, you know, the stager might be like, you need to like paint this whole bathroom and change all this stuff out. And we might talk later and be like, yeah, I don't know about painting the bathroom. You know, they might be like, yeah, I maybe just change some light fixtures or whatever. And then I'll be like, yeah, I think that's a good idea. Let's save that money for something else, because you've got these other repairs over here we can spend that money on. And honestly, I don't think this will get us that big of a bang for it. This will though, right? Or this will show up on an inspection that we don't want to have to deal with. Let's deal with it now. So things like that, I've been able to just walk through a house and say, you know, hey, let's talk about what we think we need to do. What do you guys think you need to do? You know, well, I think we should change out the countertops in here. They're ugly, this and that. I was like, okay, that's one thing. Let's talk about the rest of the house. And we start putting together that list. And then it just turns out like their crawl space was a mess. And it was like $9,000 to encapsulate their crawl space so that they didn't have any moisture down there, right? So these are things we did before we list the home. So now I can list the home with a new crawl space, and the countertops weren't that big of a deal in the first place. And we spent the money where I felt we needed to do it. So that we could get the best bang for the buck, because at the end of the day, the kitchen might be that big selling feature, but some people will look at that and be like, this is way better than I had at our last place. Yeah. And just because you think it might not, sometimes it's just like, let's leave that alone, but let's focus on some of the other things that I know will come up on inspection, and that way we don't have to worry about it. So I think it's a big part of it as well, but just coaching them through that process, right? And like talking to them about it. Some agents, they don't like to do pre-inspections before they list a house. I actually love doing pre-inspections. I think it's one of the things we should do, because that way you know what is you're going to come up against, and let's fix any of that stuff before we list the house. I've had people buy houses sight unseen just because we've had a pre-inspection done and everything was repaired. Wow. I've got buyers from out of state. Sometimes they can't get here right away and they know they need to make an offer, right? But there's a pre-inspection done and everything's been taken care of, and they can walk and make an offer and feel comfortable and confident in that offer. Like, that to me is a win-win, right? So I often get over asked, and that's where I feel like we spent some money up front to just basically put buyers at ease. And even especially now with buyers, just kind of, it's tough right now. Buyers are just they've kind of got, they're in the driving seat a little bit now. It wasn't like that way a couple years ago, but they like to take their time and look at things and this and that. So I think the more that you can make that home ready for them now is you're going to see, more showings and better offers, even in a market we have right now.
Such a unique business model, and it's working,
Yeah.
which is great. I'm going to shift a little to a couple things. When you were in your, I guess, third year after licensure, but your first year where you were really into real and focused on building your real estate business, Did you struggle with establishing credibility at all, being new to the real estate industry, or not really with your sales background and other things? How do you feel about that?
It's hard to put like a metric to that, I guess. I feel like I may not have gotten some opportunities because I was new, but I wouldn't even know, right? Like they just wouldn't call me because, oh, Eric's only been doing it for a couple years, or they talk to another agent, and I don't know if this happens or not, but sometimes somebody could say, well, I've been doing real estate for 20 years or whatever, and so you really want to make sure you talk to somebody that's been in the business for a while, or who lives in this area, or who knows this area, right? And so I don't have some of that. So I've had to overcome probably some of that a little bit. But what I feel like I make up in is just, I don't know, maybe it's personality, maybe it's the sales background, maybe it's just getting to know people on that level that they just get to trust you really quickly, and just have that warm fuzzy, you know what I mean? Like people, they make decisions sometimes on, how does this guy make me feel? Do I feel like I'm going to be taken care of? Do I feel like I'm going to be, a priority? Maybe some agents are too busy. Maybe they got too many listings. Like, will I get the attention that I need for this, right? And so sometimes I can just be like, hey, I've only got one listing right now, so you guys would be a priority for me in getting this thing ready. And based on the timeline right now, we need to be on the market in 2 weeks, and I can get you there, right? So that, I think, to me has been maybe the differentiator for me as well, is being able to kind of hustle through things and get things ready for them, where maybe another agent, it might not be as fast because they've got other things that they're working on and they can't focus on that one right now. They might say, yeah, this is great, let's put it on the market in 2 months, where I might come in and be like, based on like what I'm seeing right now, we need to be on in 2 weeks, not 2 months, right? You're gonna miss that buyer that are coming in right now looking for houses. So yeah, that to me, I think is really that piece of the puzzle that makes it work for me.
Yeah, and you alluded to earlier, like, you call people back, you call them back quickly. That's half the battle, right? Like being responsive.
Being responsive, being there when they need you. Real estate is you're on like all the time, right? And sometimes it can be overwhelming. And you still have a family, you still have a wife, you still have things that you need to take care of on a regular basis. And I just tell my clients, one of the things I like to do is just form a group chat, so between the two sellers or the two buyers or whoever it might be and myself, I just form a group chat, and I keep everything there that we talk about with regards to the house. I'll also put together like a shared note of all the things that we've talked about, so that when I sit down with them, we'll go through this whole list, and I put like little check boxes by them so that this shared note, we all can pull up and see who did what and when and where, you know, so it really kind of keeps us on track. And I'll put a list of like, here's the things I'm doing, here's the things you're doing, and we need to get these done by this time. And, you know, we can all go back and check that note and see, oh, Eric finished this one, he got that one checked off, he did that, you know. And so I think that too is just something that they feel, I don't have to call Eric to find out if he got that done or when we need to get it done. It's all in his note to us, you know. So there's little tools, I think, like that we could be using as agents, you know, to really help our clients feel comfortable without having to call us, or that we don't have to call them every time something happens as well. And sometimes that's it, you know, like they just want to know what's going on. They just want to know they're being taken care of sometimes. And so if they can just go to an easy spot and check the text messages that we talked about. Oh yeah, Eric did respond to that. He took care of that, right? Or go to the notes, the shared note we have, and see, oh, wow, okay, he's got all that done. All right, I don't need to call him about it. I can see he got it done, you know? So that I think makes it a lot easier to work with somebody as well, that just kind of thinking ahead, like taking technology and just using it. And it's not rocket science. It's a shared note and it's messenger, you know what I mean? It's not difficult, but like, sometimes it's just those easy things that I think you can incorporate into your business that helps people just know that they're being taken care of and you're on top of things, you know?
Yeah.
And I think it is important to call them though as well and just check in and say, hey, here's where we're at with everything. Just want you to know, like, we're going live in 2 days. Here's what I'm seeing in the market. I've already, you know, reached out to these agents during the coming soon period. I saw these many people were looking at the property, blah, blah, blah. I've reached out to those agents, but you know, so like they want to know that you're doing the work too, right? So I love listing houses. That's like my favorite thing to do. All right. For me, it's like painting a masterpiece. All right. You're taking the brush and you're taking the ink or the pastels or whatever you're using, your medium, right? And you're putting together this beautiful picture that's going to go online someplace, and it's going to draw people in to like want to go experience it in person. And so if you think about putting together a painting, there's so many different parts of it, right? You got to think, okay, what am I going to paint, right? What am I going to use to paint? How am I going to put it together? By how long do I need it? When is it going to be visible to people? You know, so I think about every listing as a masterpiece, as this beautiful painting, and all the various pieces that have to go together to make that just stand out, right? So people want to stare at it and go like, I want to go see it in person. And so there's a lot of work that goes into that. And so by having these different pieces in there to kind of pull it all together at the right time, so when it hits the market, it's like, right? And that's where I think a lot of the clients I've worked with just see the benefit of putting those pieces together, using one person that can see the vision and pull it all together and put that beautiful painting in front of the world to see and admire and hopefully look at and then buy.
I love the analogy. And Eric, I know that our listeners are appreciating the tips and tricks, like for how to think about this and manage your business and help manage client relationships. Like at the end of the day, right? It's the relationship with the clients that are most important. But you have to know the business. And, you know, as you're getting started, and there's still a lot of questions, right? Like you learn some stuff in pre-licensing, and then you're busy doing other things. And now here you are, full-time, focused on real estate and your handyman business. Where'd you go when you had a question? Like everybody's afraid. My first year, I'm going to run into a transaction and say, I have no idea. Like, right? Did that ever happen to you? And what did you do? And who did you call?
Yeah, all the time. And it still happens. You know, I mean, no transaction is the same, right? And there's always things that come up. And even 5 years into this, I'm still seeing things that I'm like, oh my gosh, I never would have. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Well, all the time.
What's great about being with a brokerage is you're going to have a broker in charge. You're going to have somebody who's been in the business for a long time, who has all the answers to your questions, or if doesn't have the answer, knows who to go to get the answer. So that was reassuring to me. And even in the first years of my business, being partnered on a team and having somebody who is more like a coach or a mentor was really important as well. So I think even like your first 3 transactions, you should be working with another agent who's more seasoned than you within your brokerage to go through the forms, make sure I'm filling them out properly, right? Make sure I'm dotting my I's and crossing my T's. Because that was the one thing that as I was going through it early on, I'd forget to DocuSign and drag that person's initial right in that spot, you know? And it's like, technology is great, but you got to use it the right way as well. And so remember sending some one time, and she's like, you didn't have them initial the 3rd page or the 6th page. I'm like, doggone it, I just missed it, I guess, So it's little things like that you learn along the way, but like, your sellers, your buyers they're not seeing that, I mean, you make a mistake one time, you might misspell somebody's name and they'll say, hey, actually, I need an I at the end of my name, not an E or whatever it might be. And you're going to mess up, and just don't take it, too big of a deal, right? As nobody's perfect. And so don't be afraid to make a mistake, but just don't try not to make the same mistake twice, right? My old boss told me one side, it's okay to make a mistake, just don't make the same mistake twice. I think it's a good rule, right? You learn from those mistakes and you move on. And yeah, it's hard sometimes that first year to kind of get your first transaction or get your first listing or your first buyer. But you've got to look at it like a business as well, right? Okay, this is my first buyer. They don't know that. They might have asked me that, and, to go back to that too, like we talked about that early on, what it's like to kind of have those first things. How do you explain to somebody that you're new in the business, right? Yeah. I like to use the team analogy that I'm on, right? Our team sold $50 million in real estate last year. We've sold 5,000 homes in the Charlotte region or whatever it is, like you're on a team. You're not just that individual, but you're the whole team. So I feel like when you start thinking about joining a brokerage, join a brokerage that has a team aspect to it, right? That people are working with you. My last brokerage I was with, and I don't need to name names, but there wasn't a team aspect to it. There wasn't an office you could go to. It was virtual, right? So there wasn't something that I could go and like drive to and sit down face to face with somebody and just like go through the scenarios and maybe role play or whatever else it might be, like at Berkshire Hathaway, I have that, right? We've got a great marketing team. I've got a great broker in charge. I've got a great team of agents that have been in the business for a long time, some 50 years, so they just have a wealth of knowledge, and just being around that on a regular basis, I think will help to not only just encourage you in the business, but help you like to start thinking through the business and about your business and about like how to take care of your clients. Because at the end of the day, you're not any better than the last piece of business you did, right? So that client that you take care of, they're going to refer you to 10 people, or they're going to tell 10 people not to go work with you, And so you want to be on the other end of that. Obviously, you want to be the one that they're telling other people about, so that you can grow your business. And so, I feed on that. That's like food to me. Is just like, I want that good and honest, like respect from people that I did a good job, and they want to tell other people about how great of a job I did, because I know that's where my next piece of business is coming from. It might not be tomorrow, but it might be 2 years from now, 5 years from now. I don't know, but it's that time you spent with them and just building into them and taking care of them and being there for them and answering their questions, and taking care of. I know that my clients, if somebody ever asks them, who should I work with? I'm trying to sell my house. Eric, my name will come up, because I've taken care of them. We had a huge storm when Helene came through here in October. I had a house that I was listing, and their power went out, and we didn't have any showings that day, and there was no open house or anything like that. But like, I had a generator, so she's single mom, and she's got 3 kids, and their power's gone. Like, what's she gonna do? So I ran my generator over there. We hooked everything up, and got everything back up and running. And like, that's her review for me, is like, Eric stopped everything to help take care of our family when the power went out, and it didn't come back on for like a couple of days. What would I have done if I didn't have power for a couple of days? I don't know, but I didn't have to worry about it because Eric took care of it, So it's just like thinking about that kind of stuff, right? When you're in that role, it might not be just taking care of their transaction, but sometimes it's taking care of their family.
Yeah. Wow. So Eric, it's working for you. You're thriving this business. You're growing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're loving it. You have such energy. It's great. So where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Oh, man. 5 years? I buy an island in 5 years, Tina. I've got
do it, my friend.
So many houses. I'm like, I'm going to buy an island and build some houses and sell those, No, I don't know. 5 years from now, it doesn't seem like a long time, but like, I have 2 daughters. One's in college and one's in high school. She's a senior in high school and a sophomore going into her sophomore year in college. And then I have a 4th grader, my son. So I think of 5 years is like, okay, my oldest could out of school, maybe married by then, like my middle child, she's definitely in college and probably graduating. And then my son is going to be, what, eighth grade then, I guess by then, maybe. Yeah. Eighth grade, something. And, getting into high school, and I'm like, it's not that far away, but 5 years, a lot can happen in 5 years. I just feel like if I took the last year and a half of my business, if I can like just double that every year, like I told my wife and my family, I'm like, I want this business at some time to pay for us to take a trip around the world, right? That's a goal that I have. I don't know when I'll get there, but like in 5 years, that may be a reality for us if I keep building the business the way that I'm doing right now. So I put that out in front of me as like my big, like, go for it. And, in this business or any business that you might be in where you have goals and ambitions, like what's your go for it and why? Why do you want that, right? So ask yourself that. Why do I want to take my kids and my family around the world? Because it would be an awesome trip and like memories we'd have for our lives, like those are things people can't take from you, right? So the financial part of it is great, right? Selling homes and helping people make that transition and making the money that you hope to make is all great. But like your family, your friends, like those relationships are important too. And like not forgetting about your why.
Yeah, for sure. And I have no doubt that you're going to take that trip. I have no doubt. I see it in your future for sure.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to jump into the lightning round real quick. A couple of quick questions, 60 seconds or less. Just have some fun.
Okay.
Learn a little bit more about Eric, right?
All right,
so, Eric, is there a book or a podcast that you've either read or listened to that you'd recommend for our listeners?
Yeah. So if anybody has gone through or heard of the Ninja Selling book, they've got a podcast and they have like a course that you can go through. I think that is like job number one for any agent that's starting out in this business is go through the Ninja training. That is, I think, super, super important. I listen to the podcast on the regular. I've read the book probably twice. I've gone through the course. There's just so much gold in there that you can take from it to apply to your business or any business for that matter. So that's a fun one for me. And I know this comes to mind first off is like, go do Ninja. Yeah.
Go do it. I love it. If we had a time machine and we could go back to the day you started this journey, what advice would you give yourself or what might you do differently?
Well, I wouldn't have quit real estate and gone back into the corporate world. That's number one. I wouldn't have done that because I look back and I go, man, if I had those 2 years back in this business, like where would I be right now, right? Like, so, but if I went back in time, that would be it. And I think the other thing that I would tell myself would be stay like keep pushing, like keep going. Like there's days where you just feel like you're banging your head against a rock and it's just not working, or you think things aren't working. A lot of times they are, and you just don't realize it because things are happening that you don't know about, or people are talking about you that you don't know about. And so just be you, right? Be consistent, and things will come, And so don't get down on yourself, right? Is what I'm kind of trying to say is don't get frustrated. You're gonna be frustrated, but don't when it happens, like just see the other side of that. Know that something else is coming. I always say like, if God closes one door, He's opening another one for me someplace else, and something better is coming. So if I didn't get that listing, well, I'm gonna get this listing, or whatever it might be. Like that's just kind of how I've run my career. And looking back, I wish I just trusted myself a little bit more.
It's good advice for anyone, real estate or not. So great advice. Eric, if you could have dinner with one person, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Well, I look at like Warren Buffett, right? Because Berkshire Hathaway and Warren Buffett. And this guy, he's like one of the most humble people you'll ever run into. I think he drives a Toyota Corolla or something like that. But this guy's worth billions of dollars. I'd love to just sit down with him and have a conversation just about his life and how he puts things in perspective and how he analyzes his deals and how he's gotten into these different businesses and all that kind of stuff. I just think like there's a wealth of knowledge there with somebody like that. And he just seems to me as a person that I'd probably really love hanging out with. He would just be a great friend, person to call on, I guess. But that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I bet you'd have a lot of people that would like to join you for that dinner.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So, Eric, what'd you do at work yesterday?
Yesterday? Oh,
Yeah.
man. Well, yesterday I was actually met with a client to look at a project for her in her house. It's actually a real estate agent that I work with. So I get other agents will ask me to do work for them for their clients, but also personal stuff, which is nice. And then I came home and I've been remodeling our kitchen, and we finally picked out a backsplash tile. So I've been tiling my kitchen. Actually, after this call, I'm going to throw on my grubbies and then finish tiling the kitchen, because my wife would really like to have that done so that we're not kitchen torn apart right now is not good.
Yeah, for sure. Eric, this is amazing. Where can listeners follow your journey, connect with you, find you on social?
Yeah. So for sure, I'm on Instagram and Facebook. I'm on YouTube. I have, X platform. But mainly, like, my website is a great place to learn more about me. It's EricSchultzRealtor.com. So pretty easy to remember. And you can find Eric Schultz Realtor on Instagram and Facebook. And I also have my Charlotte Handyman page, which has all my kind of stuff I'm doing in regards to handyman work. And so I put a mixture of like fun and family and work stuff in all of those to make it not just about real estate or not just about handyman, but it's about like personal stuff and what I'm doing and having fun with and whatnot. But those are the quick places you can find more information about me. And if you want to like really dig deep, LinkedIn is a perfect place to go find me there. And man, I'll give you my whole history on my whole work and experience. And I played professional baseball for 3 years prior to even going into the job world, so that was a lot of fun as well.
That's perfect. And how does one go from professional baseball to real estate? Well, here's the story, right?
That's how it happens. Yeah.
Here's the story. I love it.
Yeah, no, it's been a fun journey. And 1 year leads to the next. You never know what's going to happen. And a lot of times things happen in our lives because something else happens, right?
Yeah.
And in real estate, really, that's a lot of the reason people are buying or selling a house is there's a life change, right? Something happens. They have a kid or something or they got to move or take a job change or whatever else it might be. And a lot of the clients that I work with, sometimes I don't see again, right? They move and then it's a transition for them to go to a different state or country, or family needs them here, and so there's a lot of different things going on. But I look back at my life and I go from like playing baseball and thinking my dream was to play professional baseball someday, which I almost got there if it weren't for like injuring my arm and having to go through rehab on that, to then, working this job in this model shop where we built prototypes for products and stuff like that, where I sliced my fingers in a table saw. You think, oh my gosh, now you can't do that job. You just lost your pitching job and now you can't work in the shop job, right?
Yeah.
To my boss telling me, Eric, you're great with people. Why don't you just start doing sales for us? You can dial the phone. It doesn't require you to do anything other than dialing. So I started dialing the phone and I built a sales career out of that, out of chopping my fingers off in a table saw, right? So now I'm in sales, which grew that 20 years to where I'm at today. So I think every kind of life thing happens for a reason. And you just have to look at it that way and be like, all right, that happened. Now this is going to happen. And you know what? Someday something else is going to happen and something else is going to happen. But I feel like God's got me on a path that I've been, you never know what that next journey is going to take you to. But right now I'm loving the journey of real estate that I'm on. And this may take me to something else too. I don't know. But for right now, this is a lot of fun and I'm really enjoying it.
Well, Eric, congratulations on your success. I think the world is fortunate that this is the path that you found or that chose you. I don't know. Sometimes our path chooses us, right?
Right.
But it was meant for a reason. Congratulations on your success. And thank you for your genuine sharing of your story and kind of where it took you and where you're going. Congratulations and thank you for your time.
Yeah, this has been great. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk with you, and this has been a great dialogue. And so thank you for this. And I love your show, and it's great. So thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks.
Thanks for listening to Unlocking Real Estate, My First Commission. We hope today's stories and insights gave you that extra spark to keep moving forward in your real estate career. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It helps us reach more listeners like you. And don't forget you can watch this or other episodes on our YouTube channel. We'd also love to hear from you. Send your comments, key takeaways, or recommendations for future guests to unlockingrealestate@colibrirealestate.com.